Hello everybody. I hope that you're well. Welcome to my video on my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about authority within human design, and this is your inbuilt decision maker. Now, there are lots of different names to describe the lots of different authorities. I'm actually going to concentrate on 8 authorities today, and you'll see that I refer to those 8 within my human design chart that you're able to generate on my website. So hopefully this video will help you to understand the power of your inbuilt decision maker. Now, when you're looking at your human design chart, you obviously have your energy type. So this is whether you're a manifestor, manifesting generator, projector, or reflector. So it's 5 energy types. And this is how you interact with the world, okay? This is how your energy interacts with everything around you. You then have your strategy. And your strategy helps you to interact with other people, okay, on a day-to-day. So for example, with projectors, you need to wait for the invitation, i.e. wait to be invited. For generators, you'll likely need to respond. For manifestors, you'll need to inform, etc., etc. And there are other videos on my channel that talks about those things today. As well. And then you've also got your authority, and lots of people will teach you with human design, if you know nothing else about it, and understanding your energy type, your strategy, and how you make the best decisions for yourself when you put them together, then that will help you to start to get in alignment with the story that your human design chart is trying to express to you. So I actually think it's only like chunks, pieces of your human design chart, because it has so much goodness in it. And it also depends where you are in your life and what you want to know and what you've learned and where your experiences have landed you. But I do like the decision piece, and I think it is very, very powerful. So I'm going to go through the 8, and at some point I will do separate videos on each one going into more depth. But at this point, I hope it will give you a really nice idea in terms of an overview. So let me start with the emotional authority. I think many people that I speak to often have the emotional authority. I'm not saying it's the most popular, but it seems to be the one that trips people up a little bit. The saying with the emotional authority is that there is no power in the now. And that is simply because it is very difficult to make decisions from a place where you are feeling emotional, right? So an emotional authority means that you need to be able to wait your what we call your emotional wave. So these feelings where you get where you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. Maybe you're just kind of a bit zen, then you're up, then you're down. And you need to make sure that the decision that you want to make about something, the answer to that decision is consistent no matter where you are in that emotional wave. So if you want to say, right, I don't know, I want to go and move to another country, right? Big decision, okay? So it's these big decisions that we want to use our decision-making authority for. And if you are going through emotional wave and that answer changes, so some days you might think yes, some days you might think no, other days you might think you're not sure, then generally that's a no. That generally means that you're not fully aligned with that idea, okay? But if you, as you go up and down that emotional wave, you go, yeah, I do. Yeah, I still do. Yes, this would be really good for me. And that yes remains consistent all the way through that emotional wave, then the answer is very likely to be yes. Okay, you will know if you have an emotional authority how powerful that is for you and what you need to support you as you go through that emotional wave. I have suggested to some people to actually write down, just keep a journal, like on how you're feeling on different days, because you'll notice that there is a pattern. Your emotional wave actually goes through a pattern, but because you're living and expressing it every day, unless you stand still and journal those moments and record them, it's very hard for you to then connect those dots. So, as I said, with emotional authority, there is no power in the now. Your truth is over time. So you want to make sure that your yes to something, or even your no to something, right, remains consistent for you no matter where you are feeling on your emotional scale. All right. So the next one that I'm going to talk about is your self-projected authority, which is another interesting one. And this is where it's an interesting one, because with your self-projected, it has to be projected from within you, right? So if you are wanting to make a decision about something, the trick is always going to be within how you sound about that thing that you're trying to make a decision for. So a really lovely tip, if you have a self-projected authority, is to record yourself talking about the thing that you are making a decision for. And then as you play it back, you will get triggered. You will feel a response to what you are hearing. And that response is either going to be a yes or it's either going to be a no. So self-projection is literally that it's coming from within you. And in order for you to be able to hear what's within you, you need to almost hear yourself playing that sound back. And you will pick it up, right? And it's quite interesting because sometimes as well, you could have a conversation with another person only if that other person is playing it back to you, but they would need to be able to use the same tones, words, your sounds. So it's very difficult to mimic, which is why actually if you record yourself and you just have a quiet time away and just sit with it and just hear yourself, and don't dismiss the first thing that comes to mind when you're hearing that, right? Allow it to come through you. You'll generally find that that will give you your yes or no and will help you in your decision making. The next decision type is the sacral authority. This is very much for our generators. And the sacral is a sound. So I often talk about this when I'm talking about the energy types of a manifesting generator and a generator. If you have a sacral authority, then it means that the sacral center within your human design chart is defined, i.e. it's colored in, and it's associated generally with two sounds, aha for yes and for no. And it's a real shame because we tend to train these sounds out of our generators when they're very, very young, because we're so persistent and insistent on encouraging children to speak and express their thoughts and their decisions via their voice, when actually with generators, they're more attuned to their sacral sounds. It takes just a little bit of practice and patience to get back in tune with your sacral sound. So if you can have somebody sit with you to almost do a sacral session and ask you lots of different questions, and rather than instinctively going to say yes or no, just listen to what sounds you make, right? And see if you can make something more closer to aha for yes and for no. So for example, I'm wearing a black jumper with hearts, aha. Am I wearing a blue jumper? And it could literally be something as simple as that. It would be a really good idea if you're running a sacral session with somebody, just get them to write down tons of questions. Some are going to have yes, some are going to be no answers, but don't show them to you, okay? Make sure they're a complete surprise. You don't know what's coming. And if you stop to pause to think, then just ask them to move on to the next question, because you're not going to give it an instinctive reaction, right? Which means that when you go to make a decision, you may want to have a conversation with somebody and they may need to say it back to you just to see what your response is. Sometimes you'll be sitting within something wanting to make a decision and your instant reaction will either be an aha or an You'll know whether it's a yes or a no through the connection with your sounds, okay? The next, I'm just looking down at my notes because there's 8 of them, right? So the next type is the splenic authority, which is a very old authority. It's one of the only decision-making authorities where you can make a decision in the now, and it's quite immediate. The interesting thing about the spleen is obviously that there's a lot of fear that lives within the spleen. And so many years ago, we would have used a splenic authority. Say you're a hunter and you're hunting for food. If there was a lion, nearby, then your spleen would have told you in that moment that there's a lion, right? But it would have been an impulse in that moment. And once that impulse has gone, then it's gone, right? So you need to often react in that moment. And as somebody with a splenic authority, I can tell you that has become one of the most hardest things for me to attune to, simply because I often get it confused with where my mind is running the show and trying to protect me versus what my sort of gut is trying to say. It's not even my gut, because it kind of happens around here in my body, and it's almost like a nudge. Often I'll just get a nudge. Lately, it seems to have transformed itself from a nudge to a tingly feeling. Sometimes I'll get a tingly feeling. So just watch out if you've got a splenic authority, what those nudges feel like, right? And what happens when you do pay attention versus when you don't. For me personally, if I don't pay attention or if I go against what that sudden impulse is, I'll often look back and go, I wish I'd listened, right? So it really is a very powerful decision-making authority. And it just helps guide me on the right path, okay, as it will for you. We then have ego manifested. So the ego manifested is very much for the manifester. And because you have a lot of undefined centers, you may find you've got a lot of noise in your head. This is about trusting your voice. Okay, so your heart center will be connected to your throat center. So you'll be speaking a lot from an identity perspective, from love, from feeling. You know, it will be the things that you say, and you may not even realize what you were saying, right? You may afterwards kind of go, what was that? I wasn't even planning to say that. And that is literally your decision-making authority coming through this ego manifested kind of authority, if you like, to help you arrive to where you need to be in order to make a decision. Again, you know, a lot of things with these decision-making authorities, they have all of these different names, and there's loads of explanations as to why they're called what they are. But the best way is to practice, right? Is to just create space between you and the decision you're trying to make, and just have awareness around what your instinct reaction is to something. Just have awareness around you know, where you're feeling discontented with something versus feeling really happy and joyful about something. Just see if you can spot that within yourself. You know, even if it's very subtle because it's been trained out of you, or because you've got used to acting in a certain way, because maybe that was the influence you had around you as you grew up and through your adulthood. Just pay attention to how your body is kind of responding and how your mind is responding in some cases, you know, and that will help you to make these decisions that are right for you. With ego manifested as well, you need to hear yourself say it, because your heart is connected to your throat. If you can hear yourself say something, you'll be able to measure almost the level of conviction you have for what you are trying to make a decision about, right? You'll know whether you feel passionate about it or not. So much like the self-projected, a tip here really is if you can record yourself saying, or you know, saying something, or if you can catch how you sound when you're speaking to somebody about it, you're not asking permission, you're expressing it, and it's in that expression that you'll be able to hear the type of conviction, the type of belief, the type of joy that you are feeling about this thing that you are discussing will tell you whether it's a yes or a no. Okay. The ego projected authority type is for projectors. This is where your heart and your will, so your heart and your will center are connected, and it's literally, you will make things happen through sheer will. So if you have followed your strategy, right? So if you're a projector, you need to be invited. Okay. If that invitation has come in and it's something that you feel it makes you feel seen, it makes you feel recognized, because bear in mind with projectors, you know, the self theme is success, the not self theme is bitterness. If it's making you feel like success, if you can see that the invitations come through a means that you trust, and it feels right to you, right, then you will push it through sheer will. Okay, and that is what it means to be ego projected. There isn't really an external thing around you to help you make that decision. It is all you. Okay, but the important thing around ego projected authority is to make sure that it has come through in term, you know, in the right way for your strategy. So for projectors, it's an invitation. If you've got a line 4, for example, in your profile, then it will probably likely have come through somebody you know, your network is another example. And if those things are all being ticked off and you're feeling that your success is being recognized, you're feeling like you're being heard and that this could be the right environment or right people for you, okay, you will then push it through sheer will. All right. So if you've got any questions, do let me know as I go through this, because I'm really conscious that I'm only giving you really high level kind of views on these authorities, but I promise we will deep dive into these. I just think at the moment people are just looking for bits of information to piece together what they're seeing. And I think once you're able to do that, you then create a level of trust within what you see. And then you're able to explore it further and try, you know, and then explore like, how is this going to help with my life story? You know, how can I kind of use these things that are being shared with me and integrate them in my day-to-day? So, yeah. So lunar authority is a really interesting one, because this is for our reflectors. Our reflectors, unfortunately, do not have the authority to make decisions in the moment, or even through an emotional wave, or even via talking to somebody. They literally have to wait 4 weeks. It's about 28 days for the moon to transit, okay, a full transit. So that's why it takes 4 weeks / 28 days. And the reason for that is because reflectors have got all undefined centers. So every day they could be feeling something different based on their environment or that their people that they are with. But because as the moon transits, it's going through all the different gates, right? It's going through all the different gates within the human design chart. So it's a cycle. So every month it will do the same thing. And so if a reflector actually journaled and noted how they were feeling and what they were observing on a day-to-day basis, they will, I promise, recognize a pattern as they journal and they monitor that over a few months. And because of the way that their centers are undefined and the way that they then have this ability to make decisions over time, they need time and patience in order to be able to reflect on the decision that they want to make, because they could change how they're feeling depending on what they're absorbing from around them. Okay, so if you're a reflector and you've noticed with yourself that it just takes you a lot longer to make a decision, please don't let people hurry you up. You know, take the time, ask people to be patient with you because you want to be sure, and then be reflective, you know, on how you're feeling on a day-to-day. Journal those things. Journal how you're feeling, journal who you've been around, journal the environments that you're in. You know, just try and give it as much flavor as possible. And then as you go into the next, like month 2 and month 3, if you can remain consistent, you will see a pattern. And then that will give you the confidence as well to trust that actually this really does work for you. And it ensures that you are set up for success so that you can make the decisions that will light you up. Okay. We also have the mental projector, which is around 0.5% of the population. And this is in our projectors as well. So you'll notice with the projectors, they've got the ego manifested, they've got the, ego projected, sorry. They've got the mental projection as well. They've got splenic, can come in through there, emotional. Projectors have quite a lot of different authorities. Within them, from the mental authority, you can be very, very sensitive. You can be quite sensitive, which is great fun if you've got an open emotional center as well. Because that's like, you're super sensitive. I know this because I'm super sensitive and I've got a completely open emotional center. So it's all fun and games. But it is a really wonderful thing, because with mental authority, you need to be able to talk things through. So you need to be able to be in your right environment, which is why the mental authority is all about the outer. So often you might hear it being called outer authority or environmental authority. They're the alternatives names for it. And it's because the decision can't be made within you. It comes from your environment. It comes from who you are with, the space that you are in. And you need to be able to allow space between the thing that you are making a decision for and talking to your person, right, in an environment where you feel safe and secure. And you're not asking them for their opinions, right? You're not asking them for their thoughts. You're literally using them as a sounding board so you can express what it is that you are thinking about. And it's through that expression and talking it through that you will make that decision. And I've seen this with people where I've literally sat there and I've been the sounding board, and all I've done is like, yeah, okay. And I've tried really hard to make sure that I don't give my thoughts. Projector needs to be invited. So actually with some things, I really do just take a step back, but just know that they've asked me to be there for some reason. And I honor that. And then I create the space and allow them to talk. And if they ask me my thoughts, I will share them. Otherwise, I would just let them work it through. And you'll find that if somebody is talking it through, by the time they've got through to it, it's almost like they're having a conversation with themselves, right? It's almost like they're sort of working it through, and it's like, then they'll start talking it back to themselves in order to confirm a decision that they want to make. And so, yeah, it's really very magical to watch any of these authorities in play. Within the period that we're in now, human design is popping up everywhere, to be quite honest. And I don't know if it's me, but I'm seeing it everywhere. And you won't really find me often talking about the shadow elements of human design or trauma and things like that, because I don't want to throw people into the deep end of human design and make them feel that they've got all these things that they need to heal from, right? Within human design, there is always an optimal scale, right? There's always an optimal scale, the optimal expression of something versus the least expression of something. The least expression of something can be referred to as the shadow side, trauma, those, you know, that's what we mean by least expression. But I tend to use those words because that's how I like to teach it. And I think if you tell somebody that they're here, you know, they'll feel like it's an upward battle or an upward hill that they've got to climb to try and get to this optimal place. But the optimal expression of something is what you achieve through persistence and consistency. It's, you know, having the awareness of yourself to kind of catch yourself when you're doing something that maybe doesn't fill you up with joy, or it doesn't align to what you feel is the right way of making a decision for you. And that's what these authorities are. They're just a way that enables you to make a decision, you know, that helps and supports who you are. Okay. And for some of us, that takes practice. You know, I know this stuff, you know I have a splenic authority. I got annoyed I had a splenic authority because I was like, what am I going to do if I'm in the middle of like being outside and I suddenly get an impulse? Let me tell you a story, actually. This is a true story. I was sitting in the cinema and I was thinking about, no reason, I wasn't thinking about anything actually. I was sitting in the cinema, I was watching a film with my husband and my daughter, and I suddenly got this impulse to play the lottery, of all things, right? Don't play the lottery. So I was like, all right, okay, play the lottery. I'll do it when I have finished. Okay, film goes, blah, blah, blah. And then later on, my mind said to me, not my authority, my mind said to me, don't forget, you need to go and play the lottery. I went and played the lottery and I just played Lucky Dip, I think, and I didn't win. The rare times I do play the lottery, I always play the same numbers. When I looked, my numbers, had I played in that moment, were matching like £134,000. And I'm not joking you. And that taught me a really hard lesson about trusting my impulse in that moment. Literally, my authority was guiding me. It was trying to steer me, to help me make the right decision in that moment for me. And that was related to like some money thoughts and things that I was having at that time. So it wasn't a complete anomaly, right? But I wasn't literally thinking about the lottery per se. I was thinking about just money, and I was thinking about like abundance and prosperity. And I was thinking, you know, things to do with our financial commitments and things like that. And then in that moment, that's what my splenic authority told me to do. And I ignored it. Now, I didn't go into his whole like, oh no, because I just smiled and just thought, right, well, that's why you've got your splenic authority. It knows. And you should trust it. So now I'm hoping it will pop up at some point and tell me to go and play and I'll win millions. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? But in all seriousness, that is the power of your authority. And, you know, I can retell many, many stories where I haven't trusted it. And it's that contrast. There is so much power in contrast. It's that contrast of not following that authority has also taught me and given me the confidence to follow it. So if you're new to this and you are seeing words like self-projected, sacral, emotional, ego manifested, for example, and you think, what on earth is this? Just take a minute, just to maybe listen to this video, think about, you know, how that plays out in your life. Create that space with yourself with a cup of coffee or whatever, and just sit with yourself if you can, just for like 10-15 minutes, and just think back to all the times where you may have had a nudge or a way of making a decision where something turned out right for you, versus the times maybe when you didn't follow a certain way that suits you, that you feel suits you. And in making that decision, actually, you ended up with a situation that you just knew wasn't going to be right for you. And I really, really think that no matter how much I teach authority and say to you, follow your sacral sounds, do this, do that, you need to be able to realistically apply it to your day-to-day. And we're all grown up enough and mature enough now to be able to reflect back on our lives, hopefully with that awareness, and be able to kind of pinpoint those key pivotal moments. Because when we're able to do that, like I said, that gives us the confidence to move forward with choosing and using our authority and trusting it. So I hope this helps. Please do let me know down below in the comments what authority you are. You know how much I love talking in the comments. If you've watched this video and you enjoyed it, please share and subscribe. Please don't forget to subscribe. I keep saying to people, subscribe. I just would really like to see this channel grow more so that I can do more and more of these videos. And I will speak to you all very soon. Thank you for spending your time with me. See you later. Bye.